The ancient Egyptians did not fear death the way we do. To them, death was not the end. It was merely a transition, a passage into a world more eternal, more real, and infinitely more dangerous than life itself. The Book of the Dead, a mysterious text used by ancient Egyptians during the afterlife. This sacred manual for the soul's journey is full of spells, rituals, and instructions from the gods. It provides guidance on how to pass through the dangers of the underworld and reach the field of reeds. Their version of paradise will look at the purpose of the Book of the Dead, the different spells within it, and how it changed over time. Join me on this journey through one of history's most fascinating topics. Let's get started. The Book of the Dead. Before we dive into the spells of the Book of the Dead, let's take a step back and look at the context surrounding this enigmatic text. The ancient Egyptians believed that when a person died, their soul began a perilous journey through the underworld. The goal of this journey was to reach the field of reeds, a place of peace and happiness where the soul could be reunited with the body. However, the path to the field of reeds was fraught with danger, and the dead had to face many challenges along the way. The Book of the Dead was created to help the dead navigate this journey. It's important to note that the ancient Egyptians didn't view death as the end, but rather as a transition into another realm of existence. They believed that the soul would continue on, and that it needed guidance to do so correctly. To better understand the significance of the Book of the Dead, let's consider the Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that when a person died, their soul would leave the body and travel through the underworld. The underworld was not a pleasant place, and the soul had to face many obstacles along the way. These obstacles were designed to test the soul's worthiness to enter the field of reeds. If the soul passed these tests, it would be rewarded with eternal peace and happiness in the field of reeds. However, if the soul failed these tests, it would be banished from the underworld and condemned to wander the earth as a ghost. This belief system was a significant part of Egyptian culture, and the Book of the Dead was created to help the dead navigate this journey. The book was filled with spells, rituals, and instructions from the gods that were meant to help the dead overcome the obstacles they would face in the underworld. Now that we've covered the background of the Book of the Dead, let's delve into the spells within it. The spells in the Book of the Dead were not only written in beautiful hieroglyphics, but they were also incredibly powerful. Each spell was carefully chosen to help the dead on their journey through the underworld. One of the most famous spells in the Book of the Dead is the weighing of the heart ceremony. This ceremony took place after the soul had passed through the various stages of the underworld and arrived at the Hall of Truth. In this hall, the soul was weighed on a scale to determine its worthiness to enter the field of reeds. The heart of the deceased was placed on one side of the scale, and the feather of the goddess Mat, who represented truth and justice, was placed on the other side. If the heart was found to be lighter than the feather, it meant that the person had lived a good life, and their soul would be allowed to pass on to the field of reeds. However, if the heart was found to be heavier than the feather, it meant that the person had not lived a good life, and their soul would be condemned to wander the underworld forever. This ceremony was a crucial part of the Egyptian belief system, and the Book of the Dead contained all the necessary instructions for it to be carried out correctly. Another famous spell from the Book of the Dead is the negative confession. This spell was spoken by the dead as they approached the Hall of Truth, and it was a way for them to confess their sins and ask for forgiveness. In this spell, the dead would list all the evil things they had not done during their lifetime, and would ask the gods to forgive them if they had committed any sins that they were not aware of. This was an important part of the Egyptian burial ceremony, and the Book of the Dead provided the framework for the negative confession. In addition to these famous spells, the Book of the Dead contained many others that were equally important. For example, there were spells that helped the dead navigate the various obstacles they would face in the underworld, such as rivers of fire and poisonous snakes. There were also spells that helped the dead protect themselves from evil spirits and demons that might try to harm them on their journey. Each spell was carefully crafted to address a specific need, and together, they formed a powerful toolkit for the dead to use on their journey through the underworld. As we continue our journey through the Book of the Dead, it's important to note that it wasn't just a collection of spells and rituals. It was also a source of comfort and hope for the Egyptians. The Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a place of peace and happiness, and the Book of the Dead provided guidance on how to get there. It gave them a sense of control over their destiny and allowed them to face death with courage. The spells and rituals in the Book of the Dead were not only meant to help the dead navigate the underworld, but also to bring them closer to the gods. By reciting these spells, the Egyptians believed that they were connecting with the divine and receiving their blessings. This connection with the divine was an important part of Egyptian culture, and the Book of the Dead played a vital role in maintaining that connection even after death. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Book of the Dead is that it evolved over time. As Egyptian culture changed, so did the Book of the Dead. In the earliest versions of the book, the spells were mostly concerned with helping the dead navigate the underworld and avoid being punished. However, as time went on, the spells became more complex and began to include elements of Egyptian mythology and religion. For example, later versions of the Book of the Dead included spells that invoked the help of specific gods and goddesses to protect the dead on their journey. This evolution reflects the changing religious beliefs of the Egyptians and shows how the Book of the Dead adapted to meet the needs of a growing and changing culture. The Book of the Dead is a fascinating and complex topic that has captured the imaginations of people for centuries. From the weighing of the heart ceremony to the negative confession, each spell and ritual offers a glimpse into the rich tapestry of Egyptian culture and belief systems. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the afterlife, the lessons from the Book of the Dead remain relevant, reminding us of the importance of living a life of truth, justice, and courage. Whether you're a scholar seeking to understand ancient civilizations or simply someone fascinated by the mysteries of the afterlife, the Book of the Dead has something to offer. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep searching for answers in the pages of this ancient text. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Book of the Dead, I invite you to hit the like button and share it with others who might be interested in this topic. You can also subscribe to the channel to stay updated on future videos. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the Book of the Dead. Until next time, may your own journey through life be filled with wisdom, courage, and a thirst for knowledge. Remember, the ancient Egyptians viewed death not as an ending, but as a transition to another realm of existence. They believed that the soul would continue on and that it needed guidance to do so correctly. This belief system led to the creation of the Book of the Dead, a sacred manual for the soul's journey. The spells in the book were designed to help the dead navigate the dangers of the underworld and reach the field of reeds. These spells, including the weighing of the heart and the negative confession, were not only powerful but also comforting to the Egyptians. They provided a sense of control over their destiny and allowed them to connect with the divine even after death. As you reflect on your own beliefs about the afterlife, consider the lessons from the Book of the Dead and the ancient Egyptian perspective on death. Perhaps there are some insights that can guide you on your own journey through life and death. Thank you for watching.